This is my story of the Hitch Hikers Guide to the Galaxy. Certainly the most successful, but possibly the best radio series to come out of the monstrous corporation that is now the BBC. This was back in the day when radio series and the such were real radio series and the such, and not monstrous little creatures from Alpha Centauri. That aside from the corny start of this video, which is taking elements from the Hitch Hikers Guide to the Galaxy and rehashing them, genuinely that is true. The radio series of the Hitch Hikers Guide to the Galaxy was absolutely fantastic. I think it was 1979 that it was first released. I could be wrong. If I'm wrong, I'll put it down here. So that's that. So that came out before I was born, and then I found out about it because our teacher decided that every week we would listen to the Hitch Hikers Guide to the Galaxy and then do various sort of arts and crafts and exercises around the Hitch Hikers Guide to the Galaxy. And I loved that. It was absolutely fantastic. At that age, in year 8, I think it was, education, I was behind other children and my teacher hated it, and she wasn't very, very nice to me. She probably didn't realise how not very nice she was being at the time. But yeah, I struggled. But this was fantastic. This was the Hitch Hikers Guide to the Galaxy. The acting in it was great, and it took you off to these weird and strange places. And not being a big reader at that age, and certainly not now, my reading, what's the best word? Arsenal, repertoire is really, really very small and very, very limited to the Hitch Hikers Guide to the Galaxy, the missed books, and what am I missing? Terry Pratchett books, really. And that's it. So I will only read things that immediately jump out of me as being fantastical. Oh, and Gormenghast as well, although I haven't quite finished Gormenghast because it's a book that's this big. It's a huge book, and the BBC. Actually, I should probably review or talk about that at some point. Did an amazing TV series of Gormenghast back when the BBC did things other than reality shows about celebrities dancing on ice while eating cake. And that's what I want to talk about, is this radio series that spawned books and films and such was absolutely fantastic. So you're following this story of Arthur Dent and Ford Prefect as they sort of go around the universe, getting in all sorts of weird and wacky adventures. And you've got sort of lots of juxtaposition and very deadpan, in British humour sort of jokes. And that's pretty much it. I mean, you really have to listen to it. If you've read the books, the Hitch Hikers Guide to the Galaxy radio series is, I would say, better, but if not as good. I have read the books and they are different. There's lots of variation. So Douglas Adams hasn't taken the radio series and sort of converted his script directly into the book. He's taken the radio series as a framework, very closely written the books, but then explored other avenues as well, and sort of changed things up a bit. And so when you read the books, having listened to the radio series, it's fresh and new and you enjoy it. And likewise, if you've read the books and think, oh, I don't really want to listen to a radio play because I'm not into that sort of thing, neither am I. The only radio plays that I've listened to are the Hitch Hikers Guide to the Galaxy, all 5 of them, and the Big Finish, well, some of the Big Finish Doctor Who ones, because they're brilliant as well. The quality of those are great, and they've done stuff for the BBC, but it's not actually the BBC made them. But the radio series, if you've read the books, listen to it. It's absolutely great. They did those to start with. So they did the radio series, the primary and secondary phase of the radio series, which spanned the film effectively. So if you watch the films, it spans that and then goes off to this other one called Restaurant at the End of the Universe, which I'm not going to give away any spoilers because I hate that. hate it. Hate spoilers. But those two books and radio series are there, and the film takes up literally the first book and the first radio, the primary phase of The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Simon Jones, or was it Peter Jones? Yeah, so Simon Jones was the voiceover. Oh no, he wasn't. It was Peter Jones. Peter Jones was the book. So he narrated the radio series. It was brilliant at it, and a lot of those actors were in the TV adaptation of The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, which was good. It was quite good. The radio series was a lot better in my opinion, but that cast was in there, and Peter Jones played the book. Who was it who played Marvin? Stephen Moore. Stephen Moore played Marvin the paranoid android, and then in the film that was played by I can't remember who played it, but played by somebody else really well. And Marvin, of everyone, I think, although Martin Freeman was good as Arthur Dent, Marvin worked very, very well. Alan Rickman played Marvin the paranoid android, and he was very good. But certainly the voice in my head is Stephen Moore as Marvin, and the android that they brought to life in the TV series originally is what I see Marvin as primarily in my head, and he made a cameo in the actual film as well, waiting in queue at the Vogon bureaucracy building. So that's what Marvin looked like if you don't want to watch the BBC TV version. If you've got the film, that's him. So he's the robot, the clunky looking robot in that, which I will put up on here. But their version in the film was great as well, and I love that. But I think that was it. I can't remember where I was going with this. I can't remember at all. But they did those, and they were turned into the radio series originally. I remember now. So Peter Jones, he passed away, but then the cast came back and they did the final 3 books as a radio series, and it was absolutely brilliant. It was great. So I was waiting for that to come out. It came out. It surpassed my expectations of what I was expecting, because I thought, okay, so originally it worked as radio series 2 book with Douglas Adams doing it. And with Douglas Adams at the helm, what can go wrong? With Douglas Adams not at the helm, like with the film, you then go away from the British humour, and all of a sudden you've got American, just pretty much it's all American humour, which as a fan of The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, you have to then adjust to. Badly, normally. But having watched it again more recently, I'm a bit more forgiving of the film, and the guys who made it were fans. There was a lot of homage in there to Douglas Adams and everything. But the humour is what makes Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, and the tertiary, quandary and quintessential phase of the radio series captured the humour perfectly. It was as if Douglas Adams had been there, and in actual fact he made a cameo after death in the radio series, and it was great. So if you don't mind, I say giving the BBC some money, I personally would struggle to at the moment, given that they're running themselves a bit like the mafia, sort of assuming that everybody should have a TV license and their content is good enough for one to want to have a TV. I personally don't have a TV, and I do perfectly well with watching YouTube videos. And YouTube, I say videos makes it sound small, but good quality content on YouTube. And yeah, that is pretty much it. I mean, occasionally I guess I'll watch something on 4AD. So what's on there, like the IT Crowd, or I would watch something on the Dave catch up, namely Red Dwarf, and the new series of Red Dwarf is absolutely fantastic. So there's plenty of other things. And the BBC, what do they have? They have Strictly Come Dancing on... Yeah, Strictly Come Dancing... Dancing on Ice? Was that ITV? But they're the same programme, really. The Great British Bake Off, which is jumping ship because the BBC, surprise, surprise, want money. But the way they do it is they assume that everybody should be paying them in Britain. Whether or not they watch television or not, they assume that everybody should be wanting to watch their content, whether it's good or not. If you've got access to the internet, they assume really that you should, or you will at some point, go onto their website. And it's just criminal. So they've got all these assumptions to try and trap people into giving them money. And they send round their thugs around to people's houses, which I even refer to as officers. It's very, I can't think of the word, but, you know, sort of doom and gloom, end of the world, you know, where you've got one big superpower sort of telling you what you can and cannot like. And the BBC, when you take a step back, are kind of doing that at the moment. It makes me more and more not want to watch any of their content, even Doctor Who, which is the only thing, in my opinion, that they've got going for them at the moment. The only original sort of content that I've heard of. Nothing else. You know, you hear about TV programmes from word of mouth from other people, and they just don't sound interesting. I don't want to watch people baking cakes. It sounds as good as watching paint dry, really. I could do that. Should I do? I'll do a YouTube channel on watching paint dry. We'll make some paint, and we'll get different judges from like the different paint companies to come in and say what makes a good paint, how to make paint, and get other people in to look at paint and go, oh, this paint consistency is not quite right. This rose-coloured paint is possibly the wrong shade of rose, and then test the consistency, etc. It'll be brilliant. And actually, the BBC, I reckon, if they did that, they would probably carry on making money because people will just watch anything. I'm not like that. So after that rant about the BBC, I would probably even still buy the radio series off the BBC because it was good. The people who made the radio series would get royalties from that, and it's a good thing. So I think if people are going to do things, you want to buy content that's good. So I'm all for, if the BBC have made something I want, I then go, oh, I want that, I'll pay it, I'll give them money, they give it to me. What I'm not a fan of is the BBC saying, give us all your money and then you'll feel obliged to watch our content because we forced you into a situation and made you feel like you're a criminal by not watching our content, which is nasty. Nasty bullying. But I would still pay the BBC for programming that I want. So as soon as, I don't even know when it's airing, at some point Doctor Who comes back after them not actually having it for a year, and they justified it, I think, by saying something about it was due to the Olympics happening, but they basically didn't have very good. Well, there's nothing that jumped out at me that made me think I would have TV apart from Doctor Who, and that's been a year of no content with that. But when Doctor Who does come out, I'll get it on DVD. Definitely, I'll buy it. You know, that's the way it should work. It should work like Netflix or Amazon. If you want something, you pay for it, you get it. And that last bit of this video then is me ranting about the BBC. But get Doctor Who, not get Doctor Who. Get Doctor Who. Get the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, because that's what this video is about. So get the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy on as the radio series if you've got it as the book, if you liked it. If you've got it as the film and you liked it but you want more humour, get the radio series, buy it from the BBC, let the people have the money who need to have the money. Even the BBC, you know, they did produce it. It is that good that I would buy it from the BBC that I really despise at the moment. So it is that good. Bye.